Good morning, I'm Doug Smith, and welcome to the 11 October 2013 edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth's Town Hall. My guests today are Portsmouth Business Association President John Farley and Portsmouth Business Director Bill Clark. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Good morning, Doug. Good morning.
So the topic essentially is going to be about business in Portsmouth. And John, I'd like to start with you and the Portsmouth Business Association, the PBA. What's the purpose of it, and how many members do you have, just to give us a feel?
Currently we have 137 members, and the whole purpose really is to create a positive environment for business owners just to get together, network, and grow their business.
Okay. Bill, we talked about this before the show. What's the total number of businesses do you think about?
It's always a good question, Doug, because there is no specific registration that every person that does business in Portsmouth has to have. So we've done some research, and believe it or not, we've come up with a number of about 601 people that actually do business in one form or another. That goes all the way from Raytheon, our largest employer, down to many that are just single sole proprietors running a consulting business or some little operation out of their home. So it covers a multitude, and it's very difficult to get in touch with them because, as I say, they don't need to register or have a specific business license to operate in town.
Right. So about 600 businesses, and that goes from Raytheon, the biggest one, down to the mom and pop or individual.
Yes.
So the delta between 137 and 600 is quite a bit, and I'm sure you'd like to improve your membership in the PBA. It would probably help you do a lot more things. What kind of business-related events do you do, and how does this work for you guys?
Well, we typically have a business after hours event every other month where businesses get together. One specific business will sponsor the event. Just last night we had one with Bank Newport, and members sign up, and it's no cost to a member to attend the event. And it's a great networking opportunity. The business hosting the event typically will provide appetizers, refreshments, and it's a great environment just to casually talk about your business and promote yourself.
It's a good way to gather people, too, to maybe exchange ideas about some business issues that are bothering people. In fact, that's how the PBA came to be. Some years ago, there was an issue about the sign ordinance in town, and so some of the business owners banded together and got the ordinance to be changed so that the street signs that the businesses would heavily rely on for their visibility was a little more attractive to the business community, and they were successful with that, and from that grew this association that now we know as the PBA.
Now, how does the PBA relate to the Newport County Chamber of Commerce, for example? I'll ask either one of you guys could explain that.
Well, I can start. We're both members of each other's organization. We're a member of the Chamber as well as they're a member of the PBA. And we try to dovetail off each other's ideas, and it's been a great relationship between the two of us.
So you guys
we don't try to compete with each other by any means.
Right, so you guys also go to when they have those big, I don't know what you'd call them, convention type things where all the businesses get together like they do occasionally down at one of the hotels in town. You guys would participate in that?
We have the opportunity to.
Yeah.
In fact, as we mentioned, the birth of the PBA some years ago. Before that, they actually had a separate Portsmouth Chamber of Commerce, and they were encouraged then to become part of the county Chamber of Commerce, so that they band all the businesses in the county together. And as John said, the PBA doesn't try to compete. They could never become what the chamber is. Unlike the chamber, there's no staff for the PBA. There's no director. They don't have the funds available.
The chamber's got a full-time
exactly. They have a staff that's working that way. So, but some of the other things that the PBA has done along that line is that we used to have our own separate expos, and unfortunately, one of the things we found about it is that we were mostly just circulating amongst ourselves. All the businesses were visiting the others, and it was trying to get the community to come in. And so that's something that the PBA is considering having another one of Business Expo to showcase the businesses.
Now are most of your members also members individually of the chamber, do you know?
I think
most
of them are, yes.
I don't think we have facts or figures on who is, but I know a number of them are.
Yeah, I know several people who are members of both
definitely.
as well. So essentially, the events that you do normally every other month are get-togethers and, like you say, networking opportunities within the business community itself. The expo idea that you mentioned that you used to do, I mean, that might be a way to bring in both new members, but also the public, let the public to know what's going on here in Portsmouth. I think we're spread out. We don't have a center of town, you know, exactly. And a lot of people probably don't even know what we have in Portsmouth. So that might be something to be
Well, it's something
worth
we have talked
resurrecting,
about
perhaps.
this year. We've taken on a number of projects this year, so we kind of earmarked it for next year at some point in time.
Yeah.
Really looking for a location, a central location, which, as you said, it's fairly difficult to find. We don't have a town green or any kind of a central location, but it's something that we do have on, I guess, our bucket list, if you will, for next year.
Some of the other things the PBA has been involved with, though, is they offer or they issue 2 scholarships every year at the Portsmouth High School, and they're selecting usually 2 students that are going to be pursuing a secondary education in business or finance of some kind. They're always a contributor to the Portsmouth Library every year. They contributed significantly to the fundraising for the new band uniforms. And one of the things that occurred recently is one of the PBA members had a fire. And while most of the companies have insurance to cover it.
This is West Main Pizza?
It was, yes.
Specifically?
And just as a little bridge to help them get going, there was a collection made amongst the PBA and made some funds available.
Yeah.
No strings attached to the business, just for a little
So
interim.
it's kind of a self-support group as well.
Correct, right.
Now, what do you do about, do you do anything about actually promoting businesses or helping people, you know, come up with ideas and things for promoting businesses in Portsmouth?
Not for helping them promote the business, but the PBA has made available on their website for free. Anybody can put on there a special they're having, a new announcement they've got, some say visitor to the business for something special going on. And that's available for that. It's free advertising for them, and there's no strings on that either. And that's readily available to any PBA member.
Yeah.
We have that on the regular website, but we also have the Facebook page. And
Okay.
we're currently working on revamping the whole regular website.
Yeah.
And that's going to give us a lot more flexibility. Right now it's more of a static-based web page. We're going to have a very interactive web page coming up, and businesses are going to have larger descriptions of what they actually do, their hours, pictures of the business.
Sure.
And at one point we had started to do a focus business of the month. And once the new website is up and running, then we're going to start to focus on a spotlight
And that'll
business.
be a way of spotlighting individual businesses,
Correct.
sure, in town.
Community-wide, also the PBA is sponsoring the Business of the Year every year. It used to be a Rotary function that the Rotary always designated someone once a year as the Portsmouth Business of the Year, and that the activity died for a couple of years, and the PBA picked it up and is now active again, that the PBA gives every year. One of the other things I think they do, the PBA has done an awful lot, is especially more recently, is engaging our legislators in some of the things. And obviously the tolls issue has been a big one. Many of the PBA members have been very vocal about that, and rightfully so, and making sure that the pressure is stayed on that. They've subsidized, or rather, each holiday, the PBA also sends a food tray over to the police department and the fire department for the guys that are on the night shift that can't get home. And there's a few other little things like that. They've had a food drive for one of the church food banks in the past, in conjunction with one of their get-togethers.
Yeah.
They hold 2 larger meetings each year, one a holiday party, and then also the annual meeting where we usually have a guest speaker and an election of the new officers.
Now, are any of these bi-monthly get-togethers, do you invite the legislators and folks like that to come so your members can talk with these guys and express their concerns or ask them to?
Numerous times we've had.
Yes, especially more recently, and there was one of them was at one of our legislators was at the get-together last night.
Yeah, we had last week we had Chris Ariano and Jay Edwards on here talking about the toll commission that they're both on, and I know that's a major issue. It's a major economic issue for the island, but also a very big one for Portsmouth. I guess what I'm wondering, I always wondered about the PBA is that it just seems like I know, for example, that some of our local restaurants participate in the Newport Restaurant Week,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that way they get a little bit of publicity outside of Portsmouth. It just seems to me that there's an opportunity here to do more of that kind of stuff. And I was trying to find where would the appropriate place to go to do that, and I can't seem to find one here. Maybe it's the Chamber, I don't know.
Well, the Chamber is the driver behind the Newport Restaurant Week.
Yeah,
And probably our three most active restaurants in Portsmouth, all three of them participate in both
Yeah.
the spring and the fall
yeah.
restaurant week.
See, I just thought that this 375th anniversary would have been a good opportunity for somebody to do a Portsmouth.
Well, even before that, we had mentioned this and had a couple of the restaurants. In fact, one of the restaurant owners used to be on the board, and we thought maybe he'd be a likely one to stimulate it and get the group together, but it hasn't materialized. And without the individual business owners saying, yes, I'm going to participate, I'm going to put my time in,
Yeah.
it's
Well, it's been very
I know it's been
frustrating for people on the outside as well, trying to nudge something in this direction.
Well, you and I had talked about that previously, about it would be great to have such an event as a Taste of Portsmouth, or
Something
maybe a
like that. It's just, you
and
know,
it's just,
yeah.
I think the challenge is, number one, to get all the restaurants to want to participate in it, and it's just a huge undertaking. You would need a committee and or a huge amount of volunteers, and I think that's where the biggest challenge is.
Well, it's interesting because my only kind of experience with this stuff was I went to the one in Fall River. There's a Fall River, I don't know, it's a restaurant week or whatever, and they actually have their person who's the economic development committee person, who there's a full-time job there in their town center, town hall, and they do this thing regularly, and with all the restaurants doing all the heavy lifting, I think. All it would take is probably a critical mass of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 restaurants that wanted to do this, and you could
That's right.
you could start something and then see how it works. You know, I think something like that.
I'm sure the PBA would get behind it, but if the business owners aren't going to say, yes, I'm interested in doing this, and I'm willing to come to the meetings and organize it and commit some funds to it also.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, I think Jane Ruggiero is a member of your board, I believe, or at least she's a member of the PBA. And I think what you need to do is get somebody like her to take a project. She's also, as you know, works for the Chamber.
Right.
She's their operations officer. She also has been working for the 375th, and the thing is she's very dynamic. And I think if anybody could get some kind of critical mass going, it would be Jane. So I would hardly recommend you lean on her to do stuff.
But I think she's
pretty maxed out right
valuable
now,
asset
but,
to have. Yeah. Before we leave the topic of the PBA, though, I wanted to mention that one of the things the PBA does is each year they publish a directory.
Okay.
And these are circulated from each of the member businesses, have them on display. They're distributed. We had a big distribution at Clements recently. They stuffed them in all of the grocery bags. But even more greater distribution probably is that they're also, we pay the Newport Chamber to have them included in all the welcome packets that they send to all new home buyers in the county. And they also make up a package similar to that for all new incoming Navy people that are assigned here that are moving into the area. So it gets good distribution, good exposure.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing the Chamber can do. They can get things in the visitor center, for example.
Correct.
Things like that. Are these also available at the town hall, for
Yes, they
example?
are.
And if any
different
members need copies of this, we have a supply on hand. We also have plastic stands that they can put them in, so if they want to put it out in their business, they're available. And they can call me.
I may want to borrow a couple of plastic stands for our stuff, too.
Absolutely.
375th. I guess if I was a business coming into Portsmouth, and I went through the permitting process with Bill, and maybe an example might be the new development there on East Main Road that Bob Edenbach is putting in, that big building.
East Main and Potomac, yes.
Why would I want to join the PBA? What can the PBA do for me?
Well, again, it gets back into what I tell everybody who asks me that question is it's really what you put into it is what you get out of it. You have to put forth the effort to go to the after-hours events, to meet and greet the other business owners and get some ideas from them. And a lot of us have the same issues, whether it's payroll issues or if it's healthcare issues or anything like that. You can really bounce ideas off other members within the whole organization. It's not, people will say, well, you can go out and have some appetizers and some refreshments and it's a fun time. If that's what you want to make it, that's what it is. But if you really want to bring some business cards, meet and greet the other members and talk about your business and get some ideas from them, then it's a great opportunity.
Sure.
And I think something like that is exactly the type of people that should be joining the PBA, because, for instance, the Portsmouth Plaza, as the owners of the plaza, they belong to the PBA. So if you're at one of these after hours or you know somebody, you might find somebody who's looking for space. Because, okay, Edenbach built the building.
Right.
He's got 1 or 2 tenants, but he's always looking for more, and we've got spaces around town where people are trying to fill. And I think it's this synergy we can get from getting together and exchanging the ideas and saying, oh, I know somebody who's thinking about it, and just those types of connections.
And also, could
networking.
people contact you for that kind of information as well? Would you have that?
Well, I don't have as such a list of everything, but I'm probably fairly aware, and some of the realtors check in with me from time to time.
Okay.
Say, I've got this going. More perhaps the commercial people, like the landowner, the building owners in the business park, routinely call me and say, I've got space available and things like that. So if anybody calls in, but certainly knowing about it.
Yeah.
And the realtors, I'd say the realtors check in, and we like to keep that connection and that web going, because it's.
Now, one of the problems probably is, and we're getting around to that, I guess, is since you don't have a central office that's manned, on a daily basis, it's probably hard for people to have a contact point exactly that they can go in and talk to try to get this kind of advice. Probably the chamber would perform that function and then mention you as a place to contact.
Well, all our contact information is on the website. So a simple email. At times I'll get email from non-members and tell me more about the PBA.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to say to keep in mind is when you think of the PBA, it's a real mix of different businesses and individuals. It's from, as Bill said, large corporations down to a one-person business, but it's a mix of businesses too. I mean, there's lawyers and real estate and investments, but there's also plumbers, carpenters, landscapers, and we all mix together. We're all there for the same goal. It's a great mix of individuals. So you get and there's been times when people will show up and I've got a problem with my car, and there's one of our members is an auto mechanic.
Right there.
There's Rocky right there.
Right there. Yeah.
And
he's my mechanic.
He's a great mechanic, and it's just a great way to learn more. I just moved here 2 years ago, so it's been a great opportunity for me to learn who's who and just different businesses here on the island.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that in too, because you're new to the area here.
Correct.
And you're also the new president of the PBA, and I would assume you got some ideas going forward. Do you have any that you'd like to discuss with us, or anything of
well,
what do you think the PBA
one is, we had mentioned, is the expo. The road race was something new that
yeah, we'll talk about the road race.
I had decided that it was a fairly good idea to tie it in with 375. We have talked about a few other different things, one being a golf tournament or a golf league. But we have a few different ideas that we've kicked around, but right now they're secret, so we don't want to talk too much about them.
You'd have to kill me
if
you told me those. I don't want to hear it yet then.
I think that point John makes, though, about the diversity in the business directory. I mean, you have, for instance, one of our yacht builders and boat builders down in Melville that really don't have an awful lot of commonality with a little retailer here on Main Street. But if you drill down, you might find something that they have and some concern they have, maybe the permitting in town and things of that nature. But then to say to get them unified into one direction for one type of promotion is a little difficult.
Yeah, I think like you say, it goes from big to small. It covers the whole waterfront when it comes to businesses. I think it's very interesting that you are new and you also got selected as the president. I think that tells me
No one else wanted to do it.
well, that's the way it always kind of works in these organizations. But I applaud you reaching out to us to help, to help the 375th, and also I think this helps showcase a little bit the PBA and what it does.
Well, I think too, John is coming from out of state, and so he was involved in another community with another association, so he's got some ideas he's brought forward that we hadn't thought of here.
Yeah.
So it's always good to
There's
get
no
that,
point in
get that-
reinventing the wheel if we can.
No, we need the new
use
blood,
some other
believe me.
things. Well, Bill, I know one of the things that in your job, you're the town business director, and I know we've been trying through, initially it was at the request of the EDC, which you're on that committee as well, the Economic Development Committee, the idea of trying to streamline our permitting process a little bit to try to make it easier for companies to come in. How did that work out? And I know you tried this a couple of years ago, and
Yeah, in the time that I've been that I've had the position, one of the things you hear from time to time is that what can we do about assisting businesses get going? And no matter what level of permitting or zoning work you have to go through, it can also oftentimes be frustrating. But through the course of the time, I accumulated a list of some things and general issues that say there's delays, it's too expensive, there's too many hearings and things like that. And I tabled a group of them to the council back in 2011, and they agreed that there's some things to be looked at, but without taking any specific action. So we did make an approach to the planning board, and they pretty much dismissed the ideas in general. But the zoning board of review took it, and we had a couple nights a workshop with them. And they got involved in a couple things I think have really expedited some of the processing time. They took some of the routine types of projects they have when people coming in to add it to a deck or something, or the things over in Prudence Island. You still have to make even though it's Prudence Island and it's totally, nobody's ever going to see it, but they still have to go through the same procedure. So they did speed that up with a little bit of a consent agenda that says this is fairly routine, we can move forward. And what it did, it freed up the time then that they have to spend on some of the lengthier ones. And usually, always, the commercial and business hearings are much longer than the residential ones. So if they can free that up and get to and have the time to devote on the business permits, that's fine. The other thing they did do is, years ago, it used to be that all the commercial permits went to the end of the agenda. But now we've got it so that they come in and they're in the same calendar order as when they're applied for. One of the things that did come out of the suggestions is that we got the planning board and the zoning board to change their dates when they meet. They used to meet on back-to-back weeks. And so in some months, those dates would be one day after the other. So it made it very difficult if someone was trying to expedite something to get something done in a month. Because when people say, how long is it going to take? You have to be honest and tell them it could be 60 to 90 days for the whole process. Yeah. So that was, I think, a step in the right direction, that we've got some space between the two hearings in a month, so that if you're at the zoning planning board on the second Tuesday, you've got time to get to the zoning board on the fourth Wednesday and things of that nature.
So you've had some success.
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
They're very cautious, though, especially the zoning board, because they recognize that anything they do is going to be challenged and has to stand up in court. So
sure.
It's nice to say they should rubber stamp it and it doesn't look like a problem, but
well, I don't think anybody was looking for rubber stamps. I think they're just looking for improving the process a bit, and that seems to have worked a little bit.
It has,
it's probably an ongoing process, though. People need to keep looking at this thing.
The zoning board was receptive, and as I say, they sat a couple nights after their agenda items, and we went through things and got some good exchange of ideas.
How does it look for the business climate in Portsmouth? I mean, what kind of business development do you think we can see going forward here?
Well, you mentioned the only new building right now that we see on the street is the one here at East Main and Potomac, so that'll be a retail activity. New England Boat Works has got the steel up for a new building down in our Melville area. In fact, it looks like maybe this year we'll finally get the transaction that we've been waiting for, with the 32 acres in the middle of the Marine District, to be finalized.
The backyard.
The famous backyard that everybody's been waiting on for 8 years now.
Yeah.
And when that goes, there's going to be some activity on the parts of the big owners, the big boat builders down there. There's land being cleared on West Main Road for some new activity. The new owners at Clock Tower Square are going to be applying for a building permit shortly on a second building.
Yeah, there's a big area there that needs to be filled
Yes,
in.
that whole concept is on paper approved for another three other buildings, and he's looking to build another building similar to the large one that's in back. So anybody that's looking to invest in a new space, retail space, and maybe attract some medical offices on the second floor, much like the other one.
Yeah.
The imaging center up at the corner of East Main and Bristol Ferry there, they're going to be looking at a piece of property adjacent to their current activities, and they're interested in putting up another medical building. And I think it's those types of services and things that the town is really can use and make available.
I saw something you circulated through emails about the issue of cybersecurity and how potentially Rhode Island could play a part in that from our intellectual resources, colleges, universities,
yes,
et cetera. So I think those kind of ideas are good to plant in people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite surprised to learn that we have a couple of software companies in our industrial park, for example.
Oh.
You know, you think that's kind of a mom and pop, put together some widget place, but it's not. It's got a lot of very disparate.
A2B tracking over in the business park has these radio ID identifiers that they're now starting to place on every piece of equipment in the military, so that they can tell at any time where it is, what its age is, what maintenance is needed, and things of that nature, and tracking. In fact, the two brothers that own that, their father was the inventor of the original
RFID.
RFID, and they're doing work all over the world for that.
That's great.
It is.
We'd love to see that in Portsmouth.
And there's a couple others like that over there. That they're not visible on the street, but they're certainly worldwide, world-class activities.
We're going to run out of time again, which I usually do in these programs, but getting back real quickly to your new PBA website, the town is also going to have a new website that I understand will be rolled out in early next year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Presumably you guys will have links on there so people can go to the town website, find out where you are, go down, and for example, that business directory, things like that are probably online as well, right?
Correct.
It will be, and the new website also, like I said, it will have a more expanded description of businesses, times, hours, even
That'd be
put
great.
a Google map on how to get there.
Okay, I want to talk about the 3.75 mile road race.
Yeah.
Part of our 375th anniversary celebration in November. Can you give us some details about the event and how do people register it? How do you go about, if somebody wants to add to become a sponsor, what can they do?
They can contact me. Right now we have a running shirt that goes out to the first 150 participants. It's a premium dry fit shirt. A lot of these road races give out cotton t-shirts that shrink or fade right away. This is a nice dry fit premium shirt with 20 business logos on the back that were nice enough to sponsor and help us pay for the race. The road race is $20 until October 31st, then it goes to $25.
Okay, it's on November 16th?
November 16th, 10 a.m. at Common Fence Point. And you can register right from portsmouthbiz.com.
Okay, I should say you can also register from the 375th website. It's Portsmouth RI 375. It's got a couple links to go to.
Correct.
We're going to have to get out of here, but I just want to mention one thing that's coming up. On the 23rd of October, Senator Chris Adiano is co-sponsoring a cyberbullying workshop at the middle school at 7 p.m. All parents, I think, in Portsmouth should go to this thing and learn how to keep their kids safe from this. Thanks very much. Doug Smith. We'll see you in the next edition of Portsmouth This Week.